Hello once again, and welcome to another dispatch from the foreign guy in the barangay, still in England. Today I'm putting the final touches to the design. Many tips came through from channel viewers and subscribers, so thank you very much for your input. Now, has your suggestion been adopted? I guess there's only one way to find out.
Hello, please subscribe to Foreign Guy in the Barangay.
Oh, fantastic. My poor architect must have been pulling his hair out. No sooner had he sent me the architectural renders, many more new renders coming up later in the video by the way, that he got a series of WhatsApp messages from me with tweaks and changes. To be fair to the chap, and not wishing him permanent hair loss or lots of mental capacity, I'm finaling the design in this video, and that's it. No more tinkering. Honest. In truth, any other changes that I might want to make would only be cosmetic and wouldn't really affect our day-to-day lives in the house, nor require the architect to rip it all up and start again. Raymond plans to have the plans all done by late autumn. That might seem like months away to you, mainly because it is months away, but there's an awful lot of work required in the meantime. We are, after all, building on a 30-degree slope, and retaining walls are a requirement so as not to block the road with our house, it having slid down the hill overnight after a bit of rain. You got a problem, Jack? Easy, Tiger. Retaining walls designed to hold the remaining bit of hillside from violently, suddenly and alarmingly encroaching onto the downhill bit of hillside that we dug away to put our house on, and not something that is just sketched out on a napkin in a restaurant. People with actual qualifications in preventing our house moving from number 5 to number 7, for example, on our street, have to design the walls, the foundations and such. Defying gravity is bloody expensive and complicated. Real plumbers also need to design the water system, both inwards and outwards. Electricians need to prevent me getting an impromptu perm in my hair. There are lots of trades and professions involved, and a fully approved, stamped and sealed set of drawings needs to be submitted to the municipality for their perusal and approval in order for the building permit to be granted. There will be approximately 3 trees worth of paper required for all the sets of drawings that will be printed off so as to achieve that. And Raymond tells me it only takes 3 weeks from submission to the permit being granted, as long as his submission contains everything needed. He says that he will send it in January, just after they go back, after the 4-month-long Christmas period, which means that we can expect to be permitted to build in February. And my plan, primarily due to the lottery fairy not doing the done thing and sprinkling some of her lottery-winning fairy dust on me, will be to begin building, or rather to begin digging, as soon as possible after the permit is granted, but only to build up to floor level and then close down the site until my available dosh permits a recommencement of works in perhaps March 2027. Part of Raymond's brief is to prepare a list of materials, better known as a bill of quantities in the UK, and also to provide me with a quotation for phase 1, which will include, probably with other things as well, the excavation and levelling of the lot, the removal of excess spoil as necessary, digging foundations, drainage, retaining wall areas, the septic tanks and cisterns, the installation of the rebar as required, the installation of the formwork as required, the installation of drainage, a septic system, rainwater catchment cistern, plus tanking, concrete to the retaining walls, the foundations and the floor slab. The idea, of course, is to have everything ready to build upon, which due to the aforementioned financial restraints won't happen until 27, with the final fit out being in 2028. In 2028, I will celebrate being 65, And hopefully I'll still be the finely tuned specimen of manhood that you see before you today. But nonetheless, I want to have it finished in not me, the building. I want to have it finished in 2028 before I'm too old to get the most from what I've had built for us. Melody is 18 years younger than me, so she will almost certainly get much more from the house than I will, but she's getting older at exactly the same rate. Just that I had a considerable head start. And speaking of what I've had designed, let's move on to see the architect's renders to give you all a better understanding of what we're having built, the tweaks and changes we're making, and the reasoning behind those changes. Now please be aware that much of the decor in the renders, particularly my office, is not how the finished rooms will look, and I've included some photos that I've nicked off the internet which show the kind of thing that I'm aiming for. But as far as the build goes, the renders are developed from the floor plans, and so structurally at least are fairly indicative of room size and shape. So, to the changes. The coffee nook. At 2 meters wide, I think there's a bit of overkill here. After all, it's a place to store the kettle and mugs, not a sub-branch of Starbucks. I'm going to shrink this coffee station to half the width and give the space back to the pantry, from which it was cut out, where it will form an alcove therein, which then can house the freezer. We are planning on eating much better than previously, and our freezer at the moment is full of crap from Greg's. Tasty crap though, thanks Greg's. But we'll be growing a lot of our stuff. Now, you either eat strawberries every day for a week, 3 meals a day, or you don't, or you freeze some of them. Probably a bad example, strawberries. But anyway, fruit and veg that we'll be growing, we'll be able to store in the freezer and eat them when it's not harvest time. Similarly, I'm sure that buying a butchered pig carcass from a neighbour will be a lot less expensive than buying pork from the supermarket. On a side note, I might take up sausage making as a hobby, because a good old banger is hard to find in the Phils. If you're an expat in the Phils from the UK and you fancy a sausage, drop me a line. The laundry room, anyway, enough of this smut. I think the laundry room is huge, far too huge. All we really need is a space for a washing machine, a space for the detergent and conditioner, and probably a laundry basket. So I think we'll use the remaining space for storage of things like the cleaning products and tools, and it will also be a great place for hiding presents for me, as it's somewhere I won't have much interest in visiting on a regular basis, not knowing one end of a broom from another. But if we're building such a house, not having enough storage is a bit of a sin, and this would be the ideal place to store the mundane house cleaning articles. Now the booth and the island, which form part of the kitchen. For some reason the architect put the kitchen island and the booth seating out on the deck. Maybe it was thought that it wouldn't fit in the great room, which I've christened the sitting room and kitchen. So I've moved the pony wall closer to the TV by half a metre and flipped the island booth so that the booth is closer to the deck, and it seems to fit now. The tray ceiling above mirrors the shape of the fitment, and it has concealed LED lighting in it. The pantry door, there isn't much to say here rather than just having a pantry window, we will have a pantry door, which leads out onto the drying area so that food deliveries can come to the door rather than being traipsed all the way through the house. Hallway windows. Now, it took a while for the penny to drop, as is often the case with me, but these rooms along the back wall of the house have high level windows, and I think this entrance hall is the room with which I'm probably least satisfied. To me, it seems to be dark and gloomy, and as first impressions go, dark and gloomy isn't the desired vibe. I will bring the 3 windows down to normal height, through which a view of the vertical garden incorporated into the retaining wall can be enjoyed. Sunken seating. This is a sacrifice on the altar of getting older and infirmer. I have had a single-storey house designed specifically because I'm not getting any younger and don't want to be schlepping around up and down stairs all the time when my hips, knees and ankles sound like a bowl of Rice Krispies whenever I move. To then design in some extra steps seems to defeat the purpose, and having a large open area might be a little bit more attractive, and a little bit more usable. A nice outdoor seating set together with a few bean bags in which to lounge, not me, obviously I'll never get out of the things again, might just do the trick. Mel will want somewhere for her egg chair as well. The swim-up bar. The renders for the swim-up bar look like they were designed by someone who's never seen a swim-up bar, with all respect. The pool stools are sticking out of the water, which is not the way these things work. And the reason is that there are 3 steps up from the floor level of the pool, so if we get rid of the pool steps, the stools come down under the water where they're supposed to be, and everything works much better. And these steps down to the swim-up bar on the other side of the bar, originally the steps down to the swim-up bar from the bar side led from the Ticky Grill. It was a huge waste of space in the Ticky Bar and Grill, and potentially an accident waiting to happen. So I've moved the steps to serve the swim-up bar only, and I think the design works much better this way. I've also it also allows the work surface next to the Ticky Grill to be extended to provide more preparation area, or perhaps space for a different appliance, maybe my beach oven or something like that. The Ticky Bar wall, the wall at the end of the Ticky Grill, would be moved further along to the end of the house, and that means that the Ticky Grill is open at that end, but more importantly that the roof above will continue right the way to the end of the frontage of the house. In the Ticky dining area, it means, or rather in that area that has been exposed by the moving the Ticky wall, it allows a table and stools to be attached to the Ticky Grill, where hungry diners can heckle the grill chef and be close to the bar. And that means that the bar stools that were previously lining the main corridor along the deck can be moved around the corner. The roof above the Ticky dining and the secret garden stretches all the way through. I think with the Philippines being blazing hot, sitting next to the Ticky Grill, unprotected from those UV rays, could become pretty bloody uncomfortable. But by continuing the roof along the front, it'll be easy to fit the ceiling fan above to keep the diners cool while they eat and drink their grilled baboy and beer. It must also be remembered that it rains a lot in Bohol, and it's one of the major reasons for having such a big overhanging roof in the first place. Getting rainwater in your beer is no bueno. The smaller bedroom 1. Now, I think that the guest bedroom is huge for a room that probably won't be used much, and so I'll shrink it by 500mm-ish, which will mean that we can have a run of storage cupboards in the hallway. And you can never have too much storage, but you can certainly have a shortage of storage. So that's it. The final design. Only really the roof that should be of concern to Raymond, in that his architectural drawings will need to be adapted, adjusted to include the extra span. But I think it will be a more balanced design, and thank everybody who contributed, and it will stop us having an area of the deck where the sun would make it a particularly unpleasant place to sit, especially when your beer would get warm really quickly. I would welcome your comments on the changes I've detailed. I'd love to hear from you, because it shows that you haven't all nodded off listening to me whittering on and on and on. One other thing, all being well, the build will begin in February, and my plan was to spend all of March on site every day. And this has been a line in the sand to be there to oversee everything, and one of the reasons, the other reason being good weather, why we would begin at that time of year, it being easier for me to get there in March. But financially, it's a real commitment and quite the extravagance to take a whole month off work and go to all the expense of being there on site. I'd be interested to know your opinion of how things will go if I simply leave it to the architect and contractor to do everything. I plan to have someone wandering about site with a camera, recording the day's activity and uploading it to me each evening. I'm of the opinion that if I've confirmed the design and approved everything and specified the methods I want to be used, it should be okay for them to carry on. I must stress that this will only be the works below ground and up to floor level. When the actual building begins, I am definitely going to want to be there on site. Anyway, please let me know what you think. Do you think it will be okay, or am I inviting disaster? Do you have alternative suggestions? Have you built your own home in the Philippines without being present on site? And if so, how did it go? And how would you have done it differently if you did it again? Alternatively, did you commit to being on site all day every day but found it to be pretty much unnecessary? As always, please hit the thumbs up and please subscribe to the channel to be kept up to date with the news as we move in a snail-like fashion towards the build actually beginning. Take good care of yourselves. God bless. See you soon.